Hello everybody, welcome back to Ash's Glitter Factory. Today I will be doing Chapter 5 in the Grimrose Girls series. Chapter 5 is called Nani. The castle was, it was a castle. Nani Ezes didn't know how else to describe it. It had white polished stone, towers hidden among the mountain tops, big windows, a sprawling garden that extended from the outer walls to the castle itself, and iron gates. When she fought a castle, she fought at places like this. She didn't think of castles often, though, and when she did, it wasn't because she wanted to live in them. She waited with her bag, looking up at the enormous doors of the courtyard and the gigantic clock on the opposite wall above the stairs. She'd taken the train, almost got off in the wrong country. She didn't really understand how it took only 20 minutes and a wrong train stop to get off in an entirely different country. And now she stood looking up at the immense towers of what was likely to be her prison. "Miss Ezes," a voice called, and she turned around to see a tall, older woman at the other side of the courtyard. "I'm sorry for my tardiness. I hadn't been informed you'd be arriving today." Nani hadn't informed anyone she'd be arriving. She would show up to this school in the middle of the mountains in a forgotten place in Switzerland, and she would tell no one about it because no one cared that she was there, stuck in a castle full of people she didn't know and who she didn't care to meet. The woman approached her, and she was the perfect image of a headmistress. Elderly, respectable, kind of looked like her grandmother if her grandmother were white and had no lips. "Your headmistress Costilla?" Nani asked. The woman laughed dryly. "Oh no, I'm Mrs. Blumstein. I'm the head of teachers' council in the school." "Oh," Nani said, "I'm here." "We know." Miss Blumstein cut her off as if she didn't need any further explanations of what a 17-year-old girl was doing at the foot of the castle, wearing a short summer dress that violated school rules for uniform skirts and looking completely out of place. Miss Blumstein surveyed said dress. "I'm assuming you don't have a uniform yet." Nani shook her head. "We'll arrange that on the way," she gestured towards the front desk. "Why don't you follow me inside? I'll show you around. You should have been here for the first day orientation." There was a reprimand in her voice, a jab in Nani's direction. Nani brushed it off. Nani followed her inside the castle, and it was even more castle-y than it was on the outside. There were carpets covering the stairs and the halls, paintings of patrons, and things that looked like they belonged in museums. The ceiling was domed, and the atrium opened up to a gigantic white marble staircase. "I understand your father made the arrangements," Mrs. Blumstein continued. Nani supposed she could say that. The letter had come in the mail. It had his signature, his words, all the papers she needed to come here. Tickets for her to find a way. She Googled Grimrose Academy, but they didn't have a website. When they said exclusive school, they really meant it. Nani thought she'd meet him here, but he never actually said he'd be here, and she had no way to reach his cell phone, since it was constantly turned off and going to voicemail. "Yes," Nani said. "So, you know him?" Miss Blumstein blinked. "Pardon?" "My father," Nani repeated. "He works here." Miss Blumstein frowned. "I'm not sure I know of him." "He's a security guard," Nani insisted while she followed. "He sent me the papers for enrollment. I was supposed to meet him here." Miss Blumstein turned around to offer her a smile that said nothing. "Well, if he works here, you'll have plenty of time to see him." Miss Blumstein didn't say anything else, and Nani had to follow her up the stairs, even though all she wanted to do was go home. Home. Back to Honolulu. Back to her grandmother's place. Back to the house where she could smell the ocean and the mountains that were really green, and not this piece of jagged land that people had the audacity to call forest. Nani knew a forest when she saw one. This drab gray land with thin trees that spiked up and with few leaves was not it. Home, she thought, embittered, where her father had walked away more than once. Nani hadn't wanted to come here. She shut herself in her room, cried for 3 days, begged Tutu to let her stay. But he wouldn't relent. After Nani's mother had died, Tutu had lost her will to fight Nani's father's whims. Even though most of them didn't make any sense, even though Nani was more family than her father, she was Hannah, even though her father would come, stay with them, and then leave for his next posting, promising he'd take Nani next time. After retiring from the Marines, he traveled all over the world and found a job as a security guard for the school. He'd promised Nani the pay was good and that he'd see her soon, except he hadn't come back for her. His promise was empty. Again. Grimrose Academy is one of the best schools in the world, Miss Blunstein was saying, a monologue that Nani had completely tuned out. We have already arranged a schedule, but there are a few activities you can choose for yourself. Friday afternoons are mostly free, and you can ask permission from your guardian to leave on weekends to visit the neighborhood. That meant her father had to sign something. That meant he'd have to reply to her letters, even though he hadn't answered a single one. They crossed more corridors and passed some of the students on the way. Some barely glanced at Nani, looking like they were still half asleep. Others looked at her battered yellow dress, which she had owned since she was 14. Her strong calves and round waist and her fat body, her dark brown skin, her rounded nose, and the wave of tight curly hair adding volume past her shoulders, the round fringe of her beaten-up glasses. Nani stared back at them and felt more out of place. "Do you have any questions, Nani?" Miss Blunstein asked. Nani almost answered that she did, that she wanted to know why she was here, why she had been sent halfway across the world to a school she had never heard of, a school that her father could not afford, and why she hadn't seen him or gotten a reply to her letters or called her back. She had a lot of questions, none of which she could say out loud. "Do I start classes today?" Miss Blunstein nodded. "I can arrange for one of your roommates to take you around until you're used to navigating the castle. There's no reason for any time to be wasted." Miss Blunstein sounded like someone whose very idea of sin was wasted time, and Nani made a mental note to stay out of the teacher's path. She was not here for the studying. She was not here to make any friends. "Here we are," Miss Blunstein said, stopping by a door. This is going to be your new room." Miss Blunstein knocked, and a voice from inside said, "Come in." The teacher opened the door, and inside there was a spacious room with another door that Nani assumed was the bathroom, and 3 beds, each with a desk and a wardrobe side by side. One was not made, had pink duvet thrown in, the floor a pile of things under the bed, the other neat and tidy, not a single thing out of place. The third one was bare. 2 girls looked up when she came in. One had copper hair, blue eyes, and upturned nose. The other, one of the most beautiful girls Nani had ever seen, had pale skin, huge doe and like black eyes, and lips faintly tinted red. "Good morning, girls," Miss Blunstein said. "Meet your new roommate, Nani, as is." Okay, everyone, that was the end of chapter 5. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you at chapter 6. Bye!